we go. Welcome. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the Coming Home to You Sparkcast, where creativity meets courage and transformation becomes art. Today, we gather in a sacred circle for our creativity and innovation panel, a celebration of our unique gifts, of how our unique gifts can heal, lead, and inspire change in the world. So let's begin by uniting our energy with one breath and one heart ritual. At this point, I like to ask my panel to come back on camera, please. So wherever you are, plant your feet firmly on the ground. Close your eyes if it feels safe for you to do so, and place one hand on your heart and the other in your belly and your womb center. Now take a deep inhale through your nose, through the lower belly. Bring that breath up to the top of your crown, holding it there for 4 counts. And when you exhale with 6 counts, just release anything heavy weighing you down. Let go of any thoughts of yesterday or later today. Just let go. Now I want you to take one more deep breath in your nose. And I want you to hold it at the top again and think of something that you're grateful for today. And let that expand and fill your space. And when you release it, just smile with your whole body. Smile with your face. It really brings a message to your mind that you're safe. Now take another deep breath in and stack another gratitude moment. And let that expand in your heart center. Let it really let you glow and feel your light in your heart expand. And when you blow out, send that gratitude out to every sister in this room and everyone out in the world who needs some extra love today. Now I want you to set your intention. How do you want to be received today? How do you want to show up, be held? And now in one breath and one heart, we may begin. Thank you. Today, we're joined with 5 visionary, powerful women who embody the power of creativity and innovation in leadership, healing, and self-mastery. Today, I am graced with Carrie Knudsen. She is a success coach, master coach, and best-selling author who empowers women over 40 to align with their authentic selves, communicate with power, and turn their wisdom into wealth. Welcome. Edith Wollick, we have on the panel as well, CEO of Emperor's Media and publisher of Courage Magazine Global. Yes, who transforms ambitious women's vision into impactful brands and powerful leadership platforms. Welcome. Next, we have the beautiful Dr. Cynthia Sturbies. I feel like I said that wrong. Transformative dream life coach and community safety facilitator, leading deep healing work around grief and generational trauma, who with profound grace and resilience. Welcome to the show today. And then we have Gwen Geerink, visionary behind Tantric Leadership, guiding high-performing parents, entrepreneurs, and couples to redefine success and reconnect with their truth, tenderness, and purpose. Welcome. And then last but not least, the beautiful Donna Ambrose, bold practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine and belief clearing coach who integrates ancient healing, modern coaching, and self-care retreats to empower the healers of the world. Talk about creativity and innovation. Welcome. So honored to have you all here. Together, these powerful women will help us unlock what it means to create, innovate, and transform from the inside out. All right. So we're going to start with where we always start, the deep-rooted start with that moment, that choice when you decided enough was enough. And the first question goes to our lovely Edith. Edith, and I will spotlight you. And the rest of you can stay on camera, and then I'll just unspotlight. Okay. Edith, as a branding and leadership powerhouse who's spent decades helping women take up space in business and beyond, what role does creativity play in shaping our identity as leaders? And how do we move from simply building a brand to embodying our most authentic, innovative selves?
Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Margarita. It's been a journey and a half. Before we start, you are still sharing the screen, so I'm not sure whether you want to
How did
stop
I
that.
not see that? Okay. How do I stop it? Thank you for telling me.
Bottom, there is a big green.
Yeah, normally I see the X, but I didn't see it. Hold on. Stand by, folks. So I did that whole, oh, here it is. That my window was too small to show it. So that whole time nobody was seen. Nice. Okay, go. We get to move on. We get to make this
Welcome.
messy and beautiful at the same time. Let's go.
Exactly. And that's what it is about creativity and innovation, innovating yourself on the spot. And master leaders, as we are innovative and bold and courageous. So going back to your question, and thank you for asking. It's a powerful question. Let me bring it back so I have it in front of me. What role does creativity play in shaping my identity as a leader? Creativity in my life has been present from very early on. I realized that I love being creative. I thrive when I'm being creative, and it plays a huge role. But creativity has all different areas of aspects of life. It's not only about creativity in your career, in your business, but also being creative and solving problems. As a leader, you get to shift and create and reinvent yourself all the time. Sometimes moment from moment to moment to moment, you get to shift the way you are being and showing up in the world. And branding is something that many people don't understand. They think that it's confusing. It's not something accessible. It's something for big businesses, something for Nike or Chanel. But each of us have a branding because we all have our own personality. So our personality and how we align our business to our personality, that's how it's going to be a reflection of our souls. Our brand is creative exposure and showcase of what's inside of us, what we like, what images we like, what music we like, how we're showing up in the world, what clients we are generating, and that's what branding is. And once we align our personal branding to ourselves and our personality, as soon as we do this, it's magnetic. It's going to be showing up as truly authentic you, and it's a reflection of you, and therefore the word that is being overused, in my opinion, is magnetic. oh, I'm going to magnetically attract clients. However, it is magnetic, but it's more about the energy of your brand, an energy of you and who you are being. That's what you're going to attract in that moment. And as I've spoken to many of women, there are people that are going to be showing up in your life as a client, as a husband, or as a friend. They're going to show you a reflection that is not working. And when we take that on, when we see that's an opportunity for us, for our growth, that's when we up level and we grow. So every opportunity, there is no failure, there is no right or wrong. There is always an opportunity to grow. And I've coached one of my clients today because she was, there are things that are happening in our lives, and she believes she failed, and that's not a case. And as a leaders in society, as visionaries, we know that failure is an opportunity to grow. There's nothing wrong that we can do. You cannot do wrong, and you cannot fail. There is always an opportunity to grow. So quickly, the answer to your question, creativity has been a huge part of my life. And now I get to be creative to inspire others, to inspire my children, inspire my clients, inspire other women who are just like me, who have been living life in the center, in the mediocre, hiding, playing small. And I want to inspire women to fly, to thrive, and to be a powerful, authentic selves, because that's when we start living, when we start truly living on purpose.
I love that. And I think it's very important to recognize your own creativity and your own innovative mindset in order to radiate your own energy. And I'm totally aligned when you say, like, when you start to embody your brand, that it attracts, it radiates, it, like, things click. And I can see that with myself, as most of you also know me as Gwenergy. And it's a name that I received years ago because I always come in with a smile and energy and happiness and stuff like that. And I started to identify myself with that in a way, like, Gwenergy is high energy. And it's not. So the moments I wasn't feeling my high energy, I didn't show up. I just hide myself. And the moment I started to see, like, wait a minute, what is my Gwenergy actually meaning for me? Not for other people, but for me. That means I can show myself in any color that I want. And this is where innovation comes in. So thank you for sharing that, Edith.
Yeah, Edith, one of the things I love that you said was, and that you've taught me, is that your brand is who you are, right? I mean, it's so simple, we take it for granted, well, I did. And in speaking with you, it's like, no, even down to the color. And I like that you're so specific. And the mood, what kind of, how do you want the words to be? I'm like, huh? I don't know, kind of thing. Like, is it cursive? Is it this? Like, what are you about? And so I like all those little details that you put into branding that brings out who we are. And of course I told you, like, mine would just be beach everywhere. Like, just going on the beach. And so I love that. I love that you've taught us that, and that you're saying creativity is your brand and your brand is creativity. And I never thought about it before. Because of course, like you said, it's like we're looking at the bigger picture, the Nikes and this, and we try to emulate those, right? Like, what do they do that I want to do, not knowing it's really who you are. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Beautiful insight about creativity and the branding. And when it comes to, when I think of creativity, I think of coloring outside of the lines and just splashing paint everywhere. That's to me what creativity is like. And because we were conditioned to fit into the lines, to fit into a box, to fit into a chair, or whatever that is, and to really stand out with branding and in your work and in your relationships, it's about taking the risk to get outside of those lines, be messy, be authentic. And that's really what I know is, well, the highest frequency and energy is authenticity, and what's going to attract those that are meant to be in our lives. So when it comes to branding as well, circling it back to what Edith said, I learned when I first became an entrepreneur in 2018 is that I'm always branding myself and I'm always marketing myself. It's something that it's not a condition here or there. It's everywhere, always. And there is no right or wrong way except when we're being fit into a box that is not ours. So I'm inviting everyone to think about how you can scribble outside of the lines, how you can get outside of your box, and have fun with it.
Wow, I appreciate hearing well, Edith starting off talking about branding, and then all these wise women jumping in and speaking about creativity and shaping identity, and following really what Edith had mentioned, as well as Carrie, about, this authenticity. That really resonates with me. And I think the way I carry myself and what I learned from my mother, I I always thought my mother would be a great businesswoman. And I really don't know why I thought that, but I thought that from a very young age. And she wasn't a businesswoman, but I guess it's really because of her authenticity. People were drawn to her. She enjoyed their company. She listened to their stories. It was amazing. So that authenticity is something that I really learned from my mom. And in our Western world, has anybody heard the phrase, "When I see it, I will believe it"? So one of the things I do is that I flip it. I believe it first, and then I will find it. Then I will see it. Because sometimes our world is so busy that we're blinded to things that are just right there, right in front of us. I think we've all had beautiful coaches in our lives where they say, let it be easy. And so in my authenticity, where I really go to my heart and say, what do I want? What do I want? What does my heart desire? And really put it out there, but also believing that I can have what my heart desires. I can create the life I love. And I do it by flipping that phrase, which I found has a lot of energy. I'm going to use the word energy here, Gwenergy. I love your name. So yeah, so those are some of the things that I do in terms of creativity. And it's not, I'm finding that I'm asking for people's opinion less and less. And as I step into my own sovereignty, I know the mechanism in which to get what I want. And it is simply by sitting, like coming back to my heart and say, what is it I want? And I will believe I can have it because the universe acts, it conspires with us when we have a plan. So, thank you, all you lovely ladies. You've energized me. Thank you.
That was beautiful. I do love the whole idea of when you choose your energy and creativity is your brand. And you get to reinvent yourself. I loved all of that. Such powerful conversation. Cynthia, the next question we have is for you. Um, so, Cynthia, your work in grief and generational trauma turns pain into purpose. How does innovation show up in healing? And how can creativity help us rewrite the inherited stories that keep us stuck in cycles of survival instead of thriving?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. How does innovation show up in healing? I'm going to have to pull in my personal experience here because I know grief. I know grief very well, and there's been a lot of grief in my life. But before I get more into it, I first want to say also in my experience with grief, people out there, including friends and family, when it comes to grief, they all often want to shut you down. They want you to forget that this big thing happened. And when you lose someone who's you see as the love of your life, and your world completely changes, it's a big deal. And so I guess the innovation, and I wasn't thinking of this at the time when it happened, when I lost my partner many years ago, but the innovation in terms of my healing and with my grief is that I really wanted, and again, I didn't think of it at the time, but I'm starting to see patterns in my life of becoming a disruptor. And so the way people spoke about grief, there was one lovely woman, and she said, she was trying to, give me her sympathies, and she said, you're grieving, and she says it's okay to grieve as long as you can wrap it up in 7 days. And so that was kind of like a joke. And she did make me laugh. So laughter is very good. You can't grieve 24/7. I learned that because it really sucks your energy away from your body. And I actually became emaciated from it. And so I eventually learned, being a disruptor. One, I was going to honor my grief, no matter what anybody said, no matter how long it took. I was going to grieve. And I eventually learned how to compartmentalize my grief. So I couldn't go back to work right away. I tried, and I was a, bawling, crying mess. And then I came home, and I started again, just whatever steps I could take. So eventually I went, a couple hours a day to work, and then half a day, and then 3/4 of a day, and then eventually a full day. So I was really thankful and grateful for my employer allowed that process to happen. And so in compartmentalizing my grief, I knew that I could put on this different face to go out in public, but I could grieve in the morning before, and then I could grieve when I came home. And that, by compartmentalizing, it actually helped me feel safe or safer in the world, because I knew people didn't want to see my grief. But again, like I said, I knew I was going to honor my grief, and I visualized this grief cloak. So I could put it on my head. I had a big hood. I had a full, it was all in my imagination. But when I was in there, I was safe, and I could grieve, I could cry, I could talk to my partner, I could do whatever I needed to do. And that was really important because grief is a human emotion, and it's intended for you to process this enormous change that happens, because my life was completely shattered. I was planning a wedding, I was planning a baby. We were kind of planning it all at once, planning a house. And then just like that, in a sudden death, it was over. And I didn't know what to do. I was completely shattered. And so in honoring my grief, it was little steps. So part of it, so what I'm saying too, grief is not to be avoided. but you can learn to compartmentalize it. So don't avoid the grief. The other thing I learned with grief is that you can move it. Don't try to get rid of it all at once. That's what I tried to do. I talked to a doctor, and even the doctor didn't want me to grieve. And so I was trying to follow the doctor's orders, but you cannot lose grief all at once. Grief was transformative for me because so one thing, grief needs to move. And so I was very athletic as a child and even into my young adult years, where I was a runner. And so I couldn't run right away, but I started to walk. And then I'd walk, and then I'd run, and then I'd walk, and then I run. And eventually I got to just running. That actually helped me move through grief. And as I started to notice what I was noticing about grief, I could release it. I could release it. But not all at once, because that's too big of a leap, right? And grieving is really a sacred act. And so as I started to notice myself and I started to notice my change with grief, I also started to notice other people. And what I started to notice was that people suffer on a daily basis, that maybe we're just too busy on our phone, or we're too busy doing our groceries, or whatever we're too busy doing, and we don't notice other people. But I started to notice other people, maybe because I was practicing what I was noticing about myself. And as I noticed other people and I saw their suffering, I realized, yes, I lost, someone that I was the love of my life, that I was going to marry. And I thought that was the worst thing in the world. But what I started to notice is that grief comes in many forms. And the forms are, a divorce, that's loss. You're going to grieve that. Maybe a child has died. Maybe you've lost your job. And for some people, it's even losing their pets, right? And so I realized my own thoughts to myself was, maybe I'm being a little selfish about my grief, because there's lots of forms of grief out there. And what happened over time, over a year, over 2 years, is that I became more compassionate. That's how grief transformed me. I always had empathy. I knew that from a wee little girl, but my compassion and my heart really grew for people. And it's kind of like my heart went boom when I started to notice that I was just within myself. When I started seeing outside myself other people, it made a huge difference for me. And I recognized that I would never see people the same again. Because even when people have their pretty hair and they're dressed beautifully, they could be compartmentalizing their own grief. And we can never judge people. So that was part of my innovation and healing. Um, the other thing I'd like to share is, so I have that eventually led me into getting a counseling degree. And because what I was recognizing, that a lot of people were shoving down their grief, but over time, that doesn't serve you. That actually harms you, because your grief could come out 10 years later and they're like, what's going on here? People around you won't know. So it's important to honor your grief at the time. And so I have this exercise, I've called it forging a sword through trauma. And so you identify the incident of your trauma or your grief, because, by the way, grief can be traumatizing. And I think if you had seen me all those years ago where I became a skeleton, my grief was so big, it was traumatizing, and I was wasting away. Thankfully, because of the process of honoring my grief, I got healthy again, right? And my natural weight came back. But imagine you think of a trauma, and you write it down. So I mean, this trauma of losing my partner, the transformative part for me, and is that on the other side of trauma, if you survived it, you have also forged your own gifts that maybe you don't even recognize that you hold. And so while I recognized that I had empathy, and my compassion grew and grew from that experience. And like I said, I wouldn't look at anybody the same again, thinking, oh, look how how she's dressed. She looks like she lives a good life. She's had a really good life. She's had it better than me. There's no pity stories with me anymore because I don't look at people like that anymore. You never know the mask that people are wearing to present to the world. But in this forging a sword, you look at your trauma incident or your grief incident, and then you say, I survived. What have I learned from that? I gave one example of myself, but another one is when I was a child. Um, it's a whole bigger story, but I'll just try to truncate it to say I was taken from my mother. Actually, a lot of us children were taken from my mom because she was a single Native woman that wasn't working. So they saw her as living in poverty. So they took us. And then they separated us again. So my youngest sister, who's only 6 months old, we were in a foster care. And so what I learned, that was traumatizing. You can imagine being 2 years old and being removed from your mom. And what I learned in foster care, because I didn't feel safe, I was taken from my mom. But what I learned, and through my counseling program, I also had a counselor help me see this as well, is that I learned to observe people. And by observing people, I knew who was safe and who was not safe. And so that is something I learned as a wee little child. And so there's an example of forging a sword through trauma. You're traumatized for something that happens, but on the other side of that is the gifts that you also forge. And that's an example of my gifts. So when I work with people, um, you know, I need to show them that this is painful for you. But as they keep moving, they learn about themselves and their strengths. Um, there was a second question. How can creativity help us rewrite the inherited stories that keep us stuck in cycles of survival instead of thriving? And I just want to say, in my background in research, where I do that encompasses trauma, loss, and grief, I came across a story of a Coeur d'Alene family in the United States. They're indigenous, and what they do, this family started to have family circles or family annual events where they come together and they talk about the traumas over generations. But they also do similarly with the exercise of forging the sword, is that they talk about the strengths they gained because they survived. So then, as they step into their own sovereignty, every family member has a different gift and then they celebrate it. So that's the way that you can balance this out and change the stories from generation to generation. It's an honor and a privilege to me to work with anybody who's grieving and working through trauma. And I just want to thank again our beautiful host, Margarita Rose, for inviting me to this session. Thank you.
Cynthia, what stood out to me was that when you talked about compartmentalizing grief, I totally get that. It was so healing when I found that out. I was like, oh, I can have my moments,
Yes.
and it was very cathartic. Like you talk about putting on an invisible blanket, but for me, it was a physical blanket. And I loved it. It was my safe and my happy place. I'm like, go and I put my blanket on. I'm like, yes, it's my time and I can cry if I want. And the rule was when I'm onto the blanket, I gotta be, not doing that. And and that it was my time. And I did it like twice a day when I was going through grief and trauma. And it was so healing. It was like one of the most therapeutic thing, knowing that I had the option. I gave myself that time to heal. And to me, it seemed like it sped it up if I had not done that, because in the past I hadn't, and it just lingered and lingered, like woe is me. And I'm like I am not a woe is me person, so it was wearing on me because I'm like, oh, always ready to go kind of person. Everything's always great kind of person. So it was just so, but yeah, the grief was there, and it was so tiring. But then when I gave myself permission to grieve, and I had selected time when I would do it, it just went by. It was beautiful. Well, thank you for reminding me of that. It was so good.
Thank you, Donna.
Cynthia, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your experience and your stories with us. Very, very touching. And the topic of grief is something that is universal. And for me, I see it as that it's a common thread that brings us together. And as we live in a very divided world, how can we focus on the things that unite us? And so when you shared about your how bringing families together also, such a beautiful example of how I can also integrate that into my own life and my own family, and generational healing. Because one of my deepest whys is to break patterns of fear and pain and lack, and what a powerful tool to implement this going forward. The idea of compassion, curiosity, and empathy, those are healing tools that will bring us together instead of divide us. So thank you for opening the conversation and passing this on so that we collectively can also heal.
Thank you, Carrie. Beautiful.
Thank you, Cynthia, for this powerful share. I believe that we know what grief feels like and what it looks like, but we don't know how to deal with it. And many of us don't know how to manage our emotions, especially when you've gone through difficult times and you piling on all the different traumas. It's really difficult to start uncovering the truth and letting go of your trauma, and start the healing process. I think once it's like in my opinion, it's like a brick after brick after brick piling on top of you, and it's like weighing you. And on many people's faces, you can see the trauma, you can see the grief on their faces. Like you said, you saw a skeleton of yourself in a mirror. And many people don't even see that. They keep on everything on them, and they wear it. It's like a badge of honor for them, without knowing. It's not because we are not aware, and we are not showcasing those emotions. But I remember one time that I truly felt the grief was when my grandma passed away. My favorite grandma, and I couldn't be there at the funeral because back in Poland, in my country that I was born, they bury people almost straight away. So my grandma was buried 2 days after the funeral, and I didn't find out after 24 hours passed after she passed away. So I couldn't be there for her. So that hurted me. And I was in a relationship with my grandma, but in the same time, because I am on different continent, at that time I was on different continent than her. I was always connected with her in my heart. We couldn't see each other, but I still felt the huge loss of her. And the way I was dealing with it at the time that I didn't know how to deal with it, is basically sitting with the emotions, which we now know how that works. But I remember just driving to work and constantly crying and allowing myself to release it. And I didn't care how it looks like. And that's what truly healed my grief. But it did take a long time to do that. So it's a great opportunity for everybody to revisit the how we think about the grief. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi.
We don't hear you, Gwen. There you go.
Yes, there were a few things that stood out for me, Cynthia, and thank you for your beautiful share, Edith. One of the things is changing the narrative around grief. That is so important because when you experience grief, you have the tendency to victimize yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that is blocking the healing process. So the other thing that I also was inspired by was the way you were telling that the grief was even reflecting on your body.
Mm-hmm.
When we see people and they radiate a specific energy, we often have the tendency to say, like, to judge,
Yeah.
or to repel, to step away, to avoid, to reject because of the way they appear.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know. We don't know what's going on. The only thing we experience is the energy of that person that is miles away of our energy, and we don't like it, and it disrupts our energy. But what if we just stop doing that and just ask ourselves what's going on there and try to connect and see if we can come in with an innovative energy, like with a new wind, with changing that narrative and inspiring that person in like, okay, this is happening to you. And it's okay, you feel like this. And coming from that, you are welcome to share whatever it is that is there. Like I hear different times in the safe space. Why should people hide under a blanket and create a safe space by themselves while we are the ones who can create a safe space for the other one? Instead of rejecting, judging, or running away, we just open up and we ask, is there anything we can support you with? Is there anything that's moving you? Is there anything why you show up that way? So you can listen and be there with an open heart, without judgment, without rejection, without anything. Because when you do that, people open up. And when people start to open up, what happens? The energy shifts. And just like you said, in like grief gets to move, the moment people start to open up and feel safe, not being judged for their grief, that happens. What happens for them is they elevate their energy. As a tantric, it's all about the energy. And moving the energy for me means that we can level up like one step at a time. Every day a little step. We can be in our grief. And the next step is we are afraid to share our grief. But once we are stepping over that fear of the willingness to share with somebody else and to create a safe space with another person, the grief speeds up. It's not only moving, but the healing process speeds up. And when you are in that fearful space with your grief, the next time is you can connect with the anger that is coming from the grief. Because you feel left alone, you feel devastated, you're angry why it happened to you, and everything that plays out for you. But when you can move that grief into allowing you to be angry and letting that anger out, that disappointment, that frustration, that pain that comes from it, when you're able to move that, the next part is that you can actually embrace the choice, the courage of letting go. And once you are in that courage of letting go, your life transforms. Coming from a tantric perspective, everything that happens for us, not to us, for us, is a trigger for transformation. So anything that happens with us, for us, in what we experience something negative, is actually a way for growth. And that's the power of grief. And that's changing the narrative. So I love the way you voiced it. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you.
Such beautiful conversation. I loved allowing yourself to compartmentalize and be a disruptor of the journey. You know, there's no one way of doing anything. And so thank you for taking us on this journey. The next question we have is for Carrie. We were talking about how to change our narrative of grief and how we process it. So we have all sacred tools that we have in our toolbox. And so this question, as a success coach and master leader supporting women over 40 in career transitions and leadership roles, how do you help women tap into their innate creativity and align with their purpose? And what are the practical tools or mindset shifts that help them turn their wisdom into wealth and do it in a way that feels authentic?
Thank you for this powerful question as we segue from such a impactful topic. You know, it really sparked creativity in my own mind about this topic, your purpose and your wisdom. And I really dove into purpose. I had a podcast, Carry Faith on Purpose. And so I've really been much of my life's work the past 5 to 10 years has been around purpose. Yeah, I'm going to shift one narrative today and realize that purpose is actually your life's assignment. And I believe that we come into this lifetime, our lifetime, and each lifetime, if you believe in multiple lifetimes, with an assignment. And to me, we can use those words interchangeably. So that's one little spark of innovation and creativity I have received from the shares today. So thank you for everyone's really impactful roundtable here and mastermind. So with that idea that we have this assignment, and speaking about grief, I believe grief really does spark a next level of tools that we have access to in our life assignment and turning and accessing with our wisdom. So I want to first share a quote about from Albert Einstein, and he says, "Creativity is intelligence having fun." So grief can be a very transformational topic, and it can also be a heavier topic. And so, and our whole life's assignment is really to transform. It's to learn, grow, and evolve and transform together. And grief does transform that into tapping into this level of intelligence and creativity and wisdom within us. So I'm going to get a little bit tactical here. And my background's in psychology, and I fell in love with psychology back in the 90s. I'm dating myself in that first psychology class I took in high school. And psychology has very much transformed in the past 3 decades. And what I learned in that first psychology class is 2 levels of our mind, because this is one of our most powerful tools, is our mind. It can create and it also can destroy. So our mind can hold us back from our life's assignment, and it can also accelerate us from our life's assignment. And in that psychology class, I learned about the consciousness and unconscious, subconscious, and I'm going to use those words interchangeably. So I don't want this to be a psychology lesson, yet this is about utilizing the tools that are within us. That's where wisdom exists. It is within us. And 5% is in our conscious mind where we can create and have fun as well. And it's our choice to have fun with that creativity and access our conscious mind. Yet 95% is in our subconscious and unconscious. And I believe our whole life's assignment is also accessing those deeper levels in the unconscious and unconscious, subconscious. I use those interchangeably because I really do believe they're the same thing, unconscious. It's what we don't see yet. It's what we don't see yet. And our wisdom, a lot of the time, lies there, exists there. It's a tool. Has anyone ever been dreaming and you actually feel like you're awake in this dream? It's also referred to as like lucid dreaming. Like you're dreaming, but you're also connected to the dream. You're awake and you're dreaming at the same time. This is accessing the unconscious and the subconscious. So I want to take it one step further. And what I have helped my clients with and what I love to do is not only help train this, how we can creatively tap into our mind, consciousness, and unconsciousness, but there's a next level to it. And it's called the superconscious. I have, like I said, dedicated much of my life's work into the world of consciousness. And this is what I've written a book about, Explore Your Consciousness. And this is where wisdom lies. It lies in these levels. It lies in that creativity that we can access when we're in our alert state. It is in the tools that we can access in our dreaming state and being mirrored all around us, because what we create in our outer world is actually what we're creating in our subconscious and unconscious as well. And then super conscious, which is a whole nother realm, and I'm not going to go into that again, but I do help my clients with connecting with what we refer to as the Akashic records, which is actually part of your wisdom that you just haven't perhaps tapped into yet. So those are some tools around how can we turn our wisdom into wealth? How can we use our wisdom into creativity and have fun with it and tap into having fun is where our authentic self exists. You know, who's watched kids? I mean, we've all watched kids, right? From 1 to 2 to 3 to 5. I mean, who wants to be a kid again? Who watches a kid and says, I wish I could say that. I wish I could be that unfiltered. I wish I could just run around in the water and not care at all. This is what, you know, scribbling outside of the lines, coloring outside of the lines, and the analogy I used before, I believe we all get to step into as leaders, step into our authentic selves. So, with that being said, I want to share, you know, this next level of tapping into our wisdom through our conscious, subconscious, and unconscious and superconscious is with our creativity to share that with the world. And this is really what my vision and mission is moving forward, is about empowering leaders to use this tool, our voice. That is the second most powerful tool that we have, I believe, besides our mind and our consciousness, is the tool of our voice. And Brene Brown shares this quote, or I'm going to share a quote by Brene Brown. She has this idea that creativity is the way I share my soul with the world. I'm going to say that again. Creativity is the way you share your soul with the world. So I'm just curious, you can tap if you're watching live or watching the replay or here with us. What does that mean to you? And I really want to open that up to our panel around creativity is a way that we share our soul with the world. To me, that is the way that we're going to have that equal exchange of wisdom and wealth and currency. It's all energy, and we're all here to encourage, empower, and transform together. And when we get out of the I, which is part of the consciousness and why it's only 5%, and we tap into the we and focusing on how can you help others tap into their creativity and their wisdom is where a huge shift is created in our lives and the world. So I want to open that up with that quote. And anything else that the panel has insight on.
Thank you, Carrie. That was amazing. Thinking about conscious and subconscious mind and being aware we are aware what's conscious and we don't know what's subconscious. And we get to use the tools, and self-development is one of those tools to take us there. I know I'm not that's one thing that I wanted to explore is NLP, which could be another tool to learn. But for myself, from my own experience, being in generosity of service, giving, serving, supporting others, asking powerful questions, and finding out about people, because especially when we meet people and that are caring or giving the energy for us, that is something that is triggering us, that's a learning tool for myself to learn something new about myself and an up level in that sense. So being in generosity of creativity, painting, dancing, and doing things that I truly love. And my latest is up-leveling my public speaking. Up until a few years ago, I could not show up at all on the camera or at any other event or at any other wedding or birthdays. I would not even say a sentence because fear of looking bad or fear of other people judging me would stop me in my place, and I would freeze. I would be scared. I would be feeling all those anxiety, emotions, and nerves in my body, and that would not even allow me to say a sentence. So the last couple of years, I'm developing my public speaking skills, and therefore that's how I am in generosity. Thank you so much for this.
Carrie, did you mind sharing that quote again? The one by Brene?
Yes. So I shared it once, and then I will share, and I twisted it into putting it outward. So I'll share the exact quote by Brene Brown. Creativity is the way I share my soul with the world. Creativity is the way I share my soul with the world.
So therefore, I guess I'm thinking my logical brain's like, if I'm not sharing my soul, I'm not being creative. So therefore, I need to constantly share so I can always be in creativity. Yeah, which is very empowering, right? Or either way, you could flip it around. I am in creativity when I am sharing my soul. to the world. And that looks different for everyone, right? Because our souls are all different. So I like that. It's quite powerful. Mm.
Yeah, I loved everything you shared. Everything. Because you beautifully lined out what exactly scientifically explained in the modern world what Tantra is. It's getting in touch with your super consciousness. And everybody talks about Tantra, that's fancy sex, or it's like sex and it's sex. No, it's not. It's just that little part. Everything of Tantra has all to do with super consciousness. And the way you do that is by rising your energy. And any situation and everything you have in your life triggers that energy to level up so you can step into that superpower. So I loved every split second of your share. Thank you for that.
Thank you for sharing that and bridging that gap, because I myself didn't realize that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Beautiful. Thank you, Carrie, for sharing the quote. In creativity is the way I share my soul with the world. It was really only this last year that I'm like, that is how I would speak to define happiness for me is creativity. And I thought, wow, that's a big question that what is happiness? How do you achieve that? And for me, it is the creativity. The tool that I use, and I was really glad to hear you speak about lucid dreaming, is that when I go to bed, if there's something specifically that I am challenged with, trying to move through, you can call it a prayer. I speak to the universe and in native Gajemnado, and I ask a question. And then I'm calling the lucid dreaming. I put binaural beats on or something, some beautiful frequency. The music has a certain frequency to call in the lucid dreaming. And it doesn't necessarily mean I get a direct answer from the lucid dreaming, but what I find is that it encourages what I call inspired thought. And when I get an inspired thought, I will act on it. And in the last couple of years, I had an inspired thought where I was working in a toxic work environment. They did some really not so nice things. I was put on leave without pay. You may have heard these stories all across the world during lockdown. But I went through my process and I had an inspired thought and I acted on it. And the message was call Angela. Now there's a whole big reason I had to call Angela, and I did that, and it started me on another path. But that allowed me to eventually, resign my position. So I'm in a totally different space now. And so part of that creativity for me is to create workshops that are heart-centered, that actually do have impact in people's lives. So that's some of the tools I use and how I am creative. So thank you very much for your talk. I appreciated that.
I think I could just sit here and talk about this one particular question for the rest of the time because it's so beautiful. And I think what I'm hearing is that there's no right or wrong way, and you get to just show up in giving generosity and share your soul with the world because you are creativity in action. So just embody it, my friends. Oh my gosh, that gave me chills. Gwen, I loved how you tied in the tantric too, by the way. That was like blew my mind. I was like, yes, oh my gosh, I understand it even more now. I used to have such a different belief in my, like a story that was attached to Tantra and Tantric. So I just love that you really grounded us in it being much more than that. The next question is for you. You've spent years guiding high-performing parents, couples, and entrepreneurs to redefine success and reconnect with themselves and others. How do we create spaces in our relationships, businesses, and communities that really nurture creativity and innovation collectively rather than stifling it?
It's a very interesting question, and it comes back to stepping in that super consciousness. Like when you connect with yourself and you feel stuck for any reason in your marriage, in your business, in your career, in your body, in yourself, in your mind, that means there is a reason for you to connect with your inner voice. And in business, we call it business intuition or business instinct, right? But why don't we call it by the name? Why don't we just call it the truth of our soul? Why don't we just listen to our intuition, which is actually that voice, that inspired voice that makes you going into the action that's aligned with everything that you are. So when I connect with a business person or with a parent or whatever, like for example, a parent has a challenge with his child, ADHD, autism, learning disorder. The school is there with the system and everything, and the parent is like, "Oh my God, my child," and it's a difficult parenting or whatever it is. Like, my question is always, why is it a challenging child? Because of the system? Because you don't understand? Because it's inconvenient? For me, a child always is my biggest master. An animal is a master. Your partner is a master in triggering you in everything you don't want to know, you don't want to see, you don't want to feel, you don't want to hear. And when you start allowing all these pieces coming together, that's the moment you find your own truth. That's the moment you can connect with trusting yourself that you attracted these people in your life to show up as the best version of yourself. So you don't need to question other people. You don't need to question the situation. You don't need to question anything. You don't need to go to drama and stories and everything. You just get to tap into the inner source of wisdom. And that's the way you bridge everything. Because everything what is going on inside of you and any energy that's not aligned with the basics of your soul will reflect in your outside world. Always. It's a universal law, and we can, whatever we do, we cannot force it to our will. It's not. So when I connect with a parent or a business owner or whatever it is, the first thing we do is tap into the energy. The triple X energy process is redefining the narrative. And then it's reconnecting with your inner voice. And then it's finding a way to bridge where you are now to where you can thrive. And there is where creativity jumps in. And this is where innovation jumps in. Because you get to always reinvent yourself every split second. Because when we connect with the inner source of who we are. And in my awareness, God is not, or the source is not something that is outside of us. We are the vessel. In Tantra, we are energy and consciousness, and that creates the world. So when you are conscious about your energy and energetically elevating your consciousness, that means you create a different outcome. You create a different world. You perceive the world to your own reality. And there are so many realities equal to the many people we have in the world. And every time we shift our emotion, we shift our energy, we shift our consciousness. So we can choose, pick and choose every split second, because in quantum physics, which is actually the foundation of Tantra, what we have here is the moment we tap into that energy and we are coming in with the consciousness of that energy, we can choose, we can use the power of choice. And the power of choice is actually fueled by creativity. And when you do that, what happens is you shift your reality. So you choose the way you perceive things. You choose the way you color things. You choose your own blue and red and yellow. You choose your own sound, your own voice that resonates with everything what's inside of you. And you choose how to radiate it in the world when you are consciously, energetically connected as one. And we are all energy, because that's science. We are molecules, we are proteins. And we get to learn to master that. And when we become master leaders in our mastering our energy and mastering our consciousness, that's the way we transform the world. And we shift a vibration, a network of energy. And this is the way I see it's important. And this is the reason why I choose entrepreneurs, I choose parents. I know you get the niche down for your brand, you choose no. For me, every person that's a parent, every person that is in a leadership position, every person that has the innovative mind to become walking the journey of an entrepreneur, willing to walk the journey of an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is the most powerful transformational journey you can do in your life, apart from being a parent. So when you are in that space, you can create impact. When you are willing to walk that journey of entrepreneurship, when you are willing to work that journey of a parent, that means you are willing to tap into the unknown and step away of the familiarities we have. We do that unconsciously often, but it's the soul that purchased that. So when we are able to allow and surrender to the specific energy we have in that moment, whether it is grief, whether it is shame, whether it is fear, and we come in consciously with the super knowing that everything is happening for us and everything can balance out because we learn to dance. We accept the grief, we accept the sorrow, we accept the fear, because beyond that, and that's one of the topics of my book, Beyond the Veil of Beyond the Veil of Illusion, which is planned within a few months to launch, to be published. This is one of the most important things that are actually going on here. We get to be willing to step into our super consciousness. We get to be willing to trust our inner knowing. We get to be willing to really connect with the power of the universe, which is, by the way, not outside of us. It's a vibration in our heart. And when we talk about the universe specifically, coming from tantric knowledge, it's a multiverse because it's becoming all the universes, all the hearts are connected. So all the hearts are creating a multiverse. So when our heart is suppressed, our vibration of our love, unconditional love, becomes conditional because there is pain, there is hurt, there is frustration, there is lots of negative experiences, then the vibration of unconditional love cannot radiate. So it's important to bring that vibration, to lift that vibration, to allow that, like being conscious with what is holding you back, what is holding your light, what is holding you down. But the power when you, for example, two people are in a relationship, both of them in their own specific way, they experience the same things. They feel lonely, they feel disrespected, the other partner doesn't hear them. Whatever it is playing out, it's not a bet, it's just a fact. The other person feels exactly the same. The other person is only reacting in a different way to the same situation, to the same feelings, to the same experiences. And we mirror each other. Everything we see in the other is something we subconsciously, unaware, attracting, radiating, generating, and vice versa. So we can blame and shame and fault and whatever we do with each other, but it's not going to solve anything. We can fight, we can have wars, but it's not going to save anything. The only thing what's going to happen is to evoke the willingness to grow. That's it. And you can try to run away from it or whatever, but it's going to haunt you because when you go to another partner and you don't switch that energy, it shows up over there. And you don't shift that energy, it shows over that in the other relationships. You take your vibration, your energy, you can't run from it. Your consciousness, you can't run from it. You get to walk yourself through it. And that's the way I work with leaders, especially with leaders, because when they have a company, they can reflect their everything in other people. So when they transform, their business transforms. When the parent transforms itself, the relationship of the parents transforms, the child changes, the child transforms. So everything what is going on between the parents, the child reflects. And then you can say like, oh, my child is disobeying, my child is XYZ. No. Your child is showing up and telling you where you get to level up your energy and be conscious with it. That's the thing. And this is why I'm so passionate about leadership and Tantra and everything what's going on here, because together, when we do that, we can transform the world.
I just want to jump in here, Gwen. Thank you so much for that. You said when we change, this is near the end of your talk, you said when we change, the energy transforms. That's very powerful. And the work in my research and the work I've done, when a mother heals, that energy kind of transmutes and can go through the energy of her children and can change the next generation so that they're not carrying that same kind of grief or trauma. So that really resonated with me. But to go with the question that Margarita had asked about, what are our powerful experiences of collaboration or a community that spark creativity? I just simply want to say, and I also do work with Indigenous communities on community safety planning. And I continue to work with coaches so to maintain my leadership and to hone my own skills, so that when I bring that to community, it is like a dance between us. I am facilitating many processes for them, but in the end, it's for them. Sometimes in odd situations, they'll say, just tell us what to write, just tell us what to do. And I have to remind them that this is for them. I'm here for them. I need to know what's in their heart, right? What is it that you want? What do you want to transform in this community as it relates to community safety? So I continue to do work with coaches to support what I do. So when I come in, and I love that you're talking about, creating the energy, creating the energy. Part of creating the safe space, working with communities, is that I come in with a high energy. So I work at that quite regularly because you did say something else, to create impact. And so I want to bring my skills, my gifts to the community to create impact so they can do what they need to do to create impact in their own communities. So that's kind of, I think of that as a collaboration, right? It's not me doing for them, but it's me working with them in a dance so they get what they need to go forward and take action. So thank you very much, Gwen. I really appreciated hearing what you had to say today. Thanks.
Gwen, and both Gwen and Cynthia, there's just thought that came to me when you were both speaking. You know how there's this, I don't know if it's a proverb or a saying in the African culture that the community raised a child. Well, now I'm thinking in relation to what you're both saying, like, so this healed child, well, if the community isn't healed, it raises a traumatized child. But now this child can come away, so to speak, and get healed and then can transform the community. It's quite a powerful thing. It's quite, yeah. So it's like the reverse. So let's just all get healed so we can transform our community. That's amazing. Yeah. So that's what's my takeaway.
I'll jump in. Thank you, Gwen, for your amazing share and for your contribution to the world. We've met a couple of years ago, and this has been the most powerful collaboration ever when I met Gwen. And my life transformed as well as my son's life. So because I healed part of me, I transformed my son and my family and the way we communicate in the family. So having somebody like Gwen in their life created an opportunity for me to start and being in generosity, to start another extension of my business, to share the powerful tools and supplementation that can heal others. And because I have been introduced to Gwen and because of her support, I can truly say that she has the most amazing heart, and she will hold you high and help you heal that part that gets to heal. And in order to do that, you get to be open to receive. And at that time, when I met Gwen, I was truly open to receive, and I don't have words to describe how amazing and powerful collaboration that was. And there are people and there are businesses that I'm collaborating with that are still making an impact, but there is not a bigger impact than when you make an impact in your family, in your child, in your husband, in your sister or a parent. So I would love to invite everyone to start healing you and people closest to you.
Thank you
so
for
much for
your
that share,
authentic,
Edith.
beautiful share.
Thank you so much. Knowing you, Edith, and part of your family, I can see the infinite love and transformation that because you stood for yourself. And you're transforming the world. I did want to share something that really stood out for me that Gwen said as well, which is evoke the willingness to grow. I believe that this is one of a powerful tool that we can carry forward from this here today and with our families, with our communities, with our teams, with anyone that you have contact with. When we have the willingness to evoke, when we evoke the willingness to grow, we show up being open, being curious, being compassionate, being loving. And this creates at an energetic level, like Gwen said, our community. It brings together. And when we come together is when we also can grow outward. So I just love quotes, if you know me. And one of them that stood out for me thinking about evoke the willingness to grow is by Stephen Covey. And it's one of his 7 habits of highly effective people, which is seek first to understand, then to be understood. So imagine a world where we can be that way with our children, because I know that our children are, I can learn more than from my child than he or she can learn from me. And it will create transformation in the world when we seek to first understand each other, then to be understood. So thank you.
I love that quote. And I also love the evoke the willingness to grow. It's just, I mean, that's it, period. End of sentence. It's like bottom line. It's just, you know. We're getting close to wrapping up here. We have one final question, and this one is for Donna. And it at the end here, we always come back home within. You know, the journey is always coming home to yourself, and your work blends so traditional Chinese medicine, belief clearing, and self-care retreats to empower others. What does it mean to reclaim our creative power from within, especially for those who feel burnt out or disconnected? And where does one begin?
Well, thank you, Margarita. It's so great to be with you guys. I just love it. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. Um, I think of creativity. I was thinking about it and I thought like of a garden, right? All these beautiful flowers. And then when we suffer from burnout, it's not like the flowers, not like they've disappeared or they're disappearing. Well, yeah, it's like they disappear. They're just wilting. They're just like, they're just limp. And what really makes them that way, it's just the exhaustion. We just exhaust all the noise and the exhaustion that we have in our everyday lives that doesn't need to be there. It just make us limp. And so really it's like the question is, so what do? You're on the other side and you're just feeling, oh my goodness, I know I have this creativity inside. I'm a beautiful flower. I'm meant to flourish. But how do I get it back? And the first thing I do always, doesn't matter what's going on in my life, really, I just get still. The first thing really is just coming back to me, just being still. And the second thing I do is get into a rhythm and then I start the self-care. So this being still for me, I mean, it comes in many different forms, but like literally, like doing nothing. I'm just there and I'm focused on my breath. And I do this first thing in the morning when I wake up, and I do this last thing at night. And if I need to do it again in the day, 1 time or 100 times, I just keep doing it until I get to the place where I'm just reflective. I'm meditating. I am asking, as well as I'm not answering so much, although I know that I have the answers. I'm just really being still long enough to hear because there's so much noise and so much exhaustion. So that's the first thing that I do, knowing that it isn't, my light's not out. It's just dimming because I'm tired, I'm exhausted, or self-judgment, or, trying to people please, or whatever it is that's there that's burning it out. And so I bring it back up. That's the first thing. What else do? I get into a rhythm because in Chinese medicine, it's fascinating. The best way to heal the body is to get into the rhythm and flow. You don't go against anything. You get into the rhythm. There's even a time of day that each organ, for example, has a time of day that it's best. And so, your digestive organs, your reproductive, or every organ, they go in pairs and they have a time of day that the maximum energy is there. So when we're burnt out, it's like our chi, we call obviously our vital energy is just scattered. We call it scattered chi. It's just like everywhere. If you want to think of it in Western terms, it's like, you have adrenal fatigue, or, you're just exhaustion. It's everywhere. It's scattered. And in Chinese medicine, if you went with the rhythm of those organs, like there's a time of day that the chi is maximum, there is a time to eat, there's a time to rest, there's a time to heal, there's a time for everything. It's almost like Solomon says, there's a time for everything. So if you come back in the Bible, right, there's a time for everything, he says. But if you come back to the rhythm, there's a time when you want to be expansive. Like you're not going to think of being expansive in the winter. That's more, it's a time for reflection, in a different way. But to be expansive where you're growing and you're full of energy, it's probably the springtime. So if you go with the nature and you go with the rhythm of the day and you awake in the morning when you're meant to be up, other than people who have to do night shifts, if you get with the rhythm of the day when the sun is at its maximum yang and its maximum energy, you're meant to be at your maximum yang and your maximum energy. And that's when you nourish your soul, and that's when you nourish your digestion, and that's when you just nourish. And then as the sun goes down, you go from yang into yin, and obviously there's always yang and yin and yang and so on and so forth. But as the evening comes and you go into yin, that's when we slow down. Right. Of course, in our culture, in the West, we kind of have it backward. Like we'll eat our maximum meal in the evening time. And then we're like, why am I sluggish? Well, you're not following the rhythm. I mean, it goes as far as when someone's really unwell, we would go to their homes. It doesn't matter if it's like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 2 a.m, whatever time it is that organ that we're working on is at its maximum chi flow. We would go and we would care for them at that maximum time. Because when you go against rhythm, you just go against the body and you go against your health and you are in problems. So reconnecting with the rhythm of earth and the rhythm of ourselves and the things that we know to do. Like there's nothing going on that we don't know about. We know exactly what to do, when to do it. Might need a little tweaking here or there. We just don't do it. So this is where the self-care comes in. This is when we do what we know what we ought to do. I mean, it could be the simplest thing. Like I drink my tea out of this cup because it says, I love you. And it doesn't matter whatever other cup is in the cupboard. I have another cup and it just has hearts on it. And I pick that one. I'm like, I'm always going to drink from my I love you cup and my heart cup because I love me. Like the little things like that. Tea time. That's self-care time because I'm like a tea connoisseur. For someone else, it might be something else. Journaling. That's part of stillness as well, but it's also part of just self-care. Like reconnecting with people that you have not reconnected to, like high school friends that had great energy, because life is energy and energy is everything, like Einstein said, and like Gwen has reminded us today, it is everything. So reconnecting with people that brings you the maximum energy in your life, or like the Japanese tradition where you look at this piece of clothing and you're like, how does this make me feel? Okay, not good, don't wear it. Except I tend to wear it at home. But now I'm like, no, I'm not wearing that. It's not good vibes. It's not good energy. So self-caring is really coming back to self. We don't really have to learn anything new. I don't teach my clients anything new. And so my friends are like, I don't get it. So why are they paying you? Because We need a coach, and we need the reminders, and we need the everyday things that we know to do that we don't do, that I also don't do in certain areas of my life. I get it done in the area of my health, because if not, you crash and burn. Healthcare practitioners are number one people to crash and burn, because we're natural givers and we give to everybody. And we don't take enough time to self-heal and to give to ourselves. So my mission is like really getting healthcare people to say, hey, look, stop. We need this is nonsense. What it is that we're doing. What are we really doing? Yeah, we're here helping everybody else. Well, no, help yourself. Put your own oxygen mask on first. And that's something I had to relearn. And, you hear it all the time, but we don't do it. So I stop, I get still, I figure out, I journal, I get into the rhythm, I do my walks when it's time to be walking, I eat when it's time to be eating, I go with the Chinese rhythm clock, I do my acupuncture, I do my acupressure, I just have my daily routine. Every person needs to develop their own daily routine. It doesn't mean that they can go get acupuncture every day. I'm just privileged because I can do it myself, right? And you can do acupressure every day. You can do your breaths every day. You can drink your water to flower, like you're flowering the water in the flowers by literally, just like literally drinking water, sipping it throughout the day. Self-care is um simple. We make it really so complicated. I just measure my water out for the day, either the night before or early morning when I wake up, and I have different of these maybe, and I put, so this one's cinnamon in here, might be another one and it had something else, lemon, it has something else, and I just measure it out. So I don't ask myself, do I want to drink water today? It's not a Gwen, I see you drinking it. It's not an option. Like, do I get to drink today? It's not a question. It's like, oh, how much do I get to drink today? And there's no judgment either when I don't meet the mark. So if I, at the end of the day, and I see one of my mason jars half full, half empty, or like not touched, I'm like, oh, gotta do better tomorrow. And I just move on. There's no judgment to it. But I just put the little things in place that we need to do every day to self-care. Of course, we know them all. So there's no point going through like, you gotta sleep on time and the best sleep is before 10. Like, yeah, we know. But do we do it though? And so it's just getting back to what we know. No one needs to tell us to drink our half of our body weight in ounces in water. But do we do it though? And no one needs to say get fresh air every day, even in the winter, wherever you are is winter. But do we do it? So really for me, it's just having non-negotiables. Having non-negotiables, and the non-negotiables I have in different areas of my life. But when it comes to health, because I know it's easy to crash and burn because we're always giving. So I have non-negotiables in my health that and I check them off in my journal. I have a journal I've created, and it's actually literally how to reignite my life. And I just check it out. I do this today. Sometimes it doesn't mean I'm always happy doing it, though. It's like there are days where I'm, oh, Lord. And then if I don't do it, I'm like, oh no, I didn't get to do it today. So I got to do 10 push-ups before I go to bed. And sometimes I do it in my bed. I do it in my bed because I'm like, ooh, that was a non-negotiable. Yeah, I moved today, but I didn't do something strengthening, weightlifting. I'm like, I got to use my body weight. So it was 2 nights ago. I'm like, thank goodness, my 10 sit-ups, my 10 push-ups in my bed. And then I'm like, oh, okay, it's time for bed. So you just have your non-negotiables that you do to stay within, just be creative, literally innovate, create all the time in your own life, make it fun. It's oftentimes when it comes to health, I think we just like, there's this guilt and there's comparison, right? There's guilt, and oh my gosh, I didn't do that, I didn't drink my water. Okay, tomorrow. And then I compare myself, and I call my sister, how much water did you drink today? And she go, oh, water, I'm drinking that. I'm like, oh, I feel so good. I drank 3 glasses. Like, there's comparison and there's all this madness that we do. It's not about that. It's just about every day being better than we were the day before. How can I reignite my own health, my own life? And then how can I reconnect? And how can I just, everything's like it's redoing it because we already know. It's already there. You just RE. So I have this series that I do. It's called RE, the RE series. Everything is reevaluate, reclear, refuel. You know how to do it already. Just go back and rewind and do it. And so that's it in a nutshell. I think that's what we just need to come back to self. Actually, I wrote something down. Let's see, where is it? Oh, here it is, because you know how the podcast has spark in it, and I wanted to think of spark. And um, I said isn't creating spark isn't gone. What did I write? Creating spark isn't gone. Oh, it's just waiting. Your creativity isn't gone. You know that spark that you have? I was trying to write it in shorthand. Clearly, it didn't work. So that creative spark that you've got isn't gone. It's just waiting. And it's waiting for us to be still long enough, when it's waiting for us to give ourselves self-care. And then it would meet you right where you are. And that's me.
Thank you, Donna. That was awesome. Um, there's so many things you said, but what really strikes me about what you said is, again, I said it earlier, let it be easy. It can be simple, right? I like how you have your jars of water with cinnamon or lemon. Like, I like that. That's creative, because that will help me. I'm going to take that tip. It's going to help me drink more water. But, for anybody watching where they're feeling creatively stuck, what's one step they can do is, one thing I've been doing, again, it's simple. I've been one, going to bed earlier by like 60 to 90 minutes. And two, I've been getting up earlier and going out in the sun. And what's interesting, the effects it's having on me, my skin is changing color. It's getting darker. And when I was a child, my skin was darker. And I'm like, how come I'm so pale now? And basically, I stopped going out in the sun. I was working too much at the laptop, like 12 hours a day. And so it's a simple act of pulling away, going outside, the fresh air, like you said, and getting the sun. And what I'm finding is I'm starting to get energized, and like more consistent energy, I guess is a way to say it. And I really appreciate that. So I got from overall what you were saying, be purposeful in your self-care. So thank you.
Yeah, I can follow that. Be purposeful. I was listening to myself when you were speaking, like these non-negotiables. Oh my God, I love them so much. And they can be boring, but they work. For me, it's just having systems in place. So a system for me, for example, is when I'm in the bathroom, taking a shower. After that shower, I have my beauty stuff. And then next to that, I have my special oil. And then when I go downstairs, the first thing I do is drink a big glass of water. Next to that water, I have my supplements. So then I know, okay, I'm with the water, so I take the supplements. When I open the fridge, I see my other stuff standing. So like it's a system. Every action follows on another action, and that evokes another, and it evokes another. So when you have your, and it's actually when every part of the day has a specific ritual. And when you, exactly what you say, like when you follow your own rhythm, your natural rhythm, that's the moment now it's time to take a break. Now it's time to eat. Now it's time to be very productive. People call me crazy, but I am awake at 4. And the first thing I do, and I do not I don't never have to do anything for it. I just get up and I do my meditation and I do my breathing work and I do my yoga. And then it's 5 o'clock. And then I start with, what do I feel right now because that's my hour. Between 5 and 6, that's the hour that I can do whatever I want. I can dance, I can go to sleep for another half an hour. I can be creative, use my computer and start to create a post or anything work related, because I think it's creative moment. This is my creativity moment where I just can be me. And I pick and choose every morning another thing. So, and then 6 o'clock, I go to the bathroom and do my stuff. And it's like a circle. And when you are in that circle, you always find your best moments. And listen to the organs, listening to your body. Your body always knows best. Trust it. The only reason why you cannot trust your body is because you are poisoning it with your mind. You don't know the difference anymore between the stories and the dramas and everything you create around your body, around everything, or your pristine inspiration, your pristine intuition, your voice, your inner voice that is guiding you through life. So I love the way you position that with the non-negotiables and listening to the organs with the Chinese clock. I love that. Thank you.
So one step that someone can take to today to come back to their center and reclaim their spark, for me, is being connected to water. And I will take the space and shift that to the night owls out there. As a night owl, I do still get up in the morning, but I do stay up late. So I get to balance my energy, and I get to have longer nights for the weekend, for example. But when we talk about, like, if you are either creatively stuck or you simply don't know where to go next, to me is knowing what you want and where you're heading, and centering into the intention, how are you going to get there? So centering to your own self, who you are, and what have you created up until now, and truly owning what success you've created for yourself, and realizing, oh, I did this. Oh, yeah, I gave birth to a child. Well, in my case, 3. But whoever you are, you've done amazing and tremendous achievements in your life, but we choose sometimes not to see them. So centering back to what you have been created, what you have created up until now, and seeing the value that you bring to the world, I believe that's a huge one step that you can center yourself to move forward to, and then the question will appear, and will appear that what is your next step? What is your next step? Because we don't take massive leaps. We can, all we can do, if we are stuck, we can just take one step. And for me is to go swimming and to connect with water, going outside, like you said, and being connected with nature. So that is hugely important in my own life and from my own experience.
Thank you for sharing that, Edith. I definitely can relate. Nature and water sparks me. And lastly, I want to wrap this up with the one thing that I believe for you to reclaim your spark is reconnect, going on the that Donna proclaimed, reconnect with your inner child. Because that inner child is where we was unleashed. The inner child knew, even though the outside world was telling them they didn't know. Your inner child knows. So that's why I love nature. I love water, because to me, that's where I connected as a very young child with mind, body, and my soul. So I'm just going to encourage everyone to follow their joy and what brings you pleasure and excitement and energy. There's no right or wrong answer. Thanks.
Yes, reclaim your creativity to reawaken your imagination, because that is your only limit, my friends. Ah, so beautiful. We are getting really close to being at the end, and I really want to honor what my commitment in saying that I was going to ask you guys to share where people can find you. So if you could really just take 1 minute, because I do have a long outro to end this call. So if you could just do 1 minute and let us know, and I'll call your name, and then you can tell me a link or a handle on social media where people can find you, whatever is the easiest for you. So Donna will go with you first.
It's ambrosewellness.com. AMBROSE, wellness.com.
And then, yes, Cynthia.
Sorry, I had to open my mic. You can find me on Facebook. You can direct message me, but I almost prefer you to email me at Stirbys, STIRBYS 4, which is the number 4, empowerment. So Stirbys for empowerment at gmail.com. Subject line creativity.
And then Gwen, please.
Let's keep it simple. My name, Gwen Gehring. You go to LinkedIn, you find me. You go to Facebook, you find me. You go to that website, gwengehring.com, and you find me. So just use my name and you will find me.
Great. And then Edith.
You can find me as an Empress Media, or send me email edith@empressmedia.com, Courage Magazine Global, and I will pop my Calendly here in the chat, so you can share it as well to make it easy to connect with me. And yeah, all
Great.
the social media channels.
Beautiful. And last but not least, Miss Carrie.
Thank you for allowing us this time and place to give back and share. You can find me on Instagram, Envision with Carrie Coaching. My company is Envision with Carrie Consulting. So if you were to Google Envision with Carrie, I would probably pop up. And it's been such an honor to co-create creativity in the spark with all of you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Rita Rose, for inviting us and creating that platform for us to share our voice and opening up your time for that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita. It's been very impactful and powerful meeting. And I believe the viewers will gain such amazing insight to what really matters in life.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. And just like that, sisters, what you just experienced was not just a conversation. It was an activation. The voices you heard today carry the frequency of innovation, courage, and truth. These master leaders are living proof that you can reinvent yourself in any moment, and that creativity is not just something you do, it's a way of being. Innovation begins the moment that you choose the energy of who you truly are, because the energy you choose is the energy you attract. As master leaders, you don't wait for permission. We disrupt the norm, color outside the lines, and take leaps even if it's messy. We honor our needs, take small steps, and meet our grief with love, allowing it to move slowly. because it is a sacred act of release. Your journey, no matter how complex, holds gifts. On the other side of trauma are treasures of unconditional love and deep compassion. We get to change the story for generations by creating safe spaces where judgment doesn't exist and everyone is seen, heard, and supported. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Creativity is your brand, and your brand is your creativity. It's how we express our soul's truth and share our gifts with the world. Whether you are innovating in your healing journey, your relationships, or your purpose, the invitation is the same. Be willing to step out of your comfort zone into the unknown, because that's where transformation lives. Remember, your mind is the most powerful tool. You can reprogram it through devotional daily rituals, raising your energy to access the wisdom of your superconsciousness. Surround yourself with those who lift you higher. Unleash your inner child. Know you are not broken, you are becoming. Evoke the willingness to grow because life is a creative dance of heart. First step in coming home to you is to be in stillness long enough to hear your inner wisdom. You get to put on your accident mask first and have your non-negotiables and systems in place to support you. Live in the rhythm and flow of earth to return to your truth. Life is a creative dance. When you shift your emotions, you shift your energy. And in that moment, you create quantum leap in your reality. Your relationships are your greatest teachers, and your outer world will always mirror your inner state. Everything you see in others is a reflection of what lives in you. So make your journey fun. So my love, take what lit you up today and put it into practice. Let your creativity become the way you love, lead, and live. Let your imagination be your only limit. Step boldly into the space where purpose meets passion. And remember, you are the masterpiece and the artist all at once. Until next time, I'll see you next week. I am Margarita Rose, your host, and this is Coming Home to You. Thank you so much for the beautiful panel today, for bringing such beautiful wisdom and heart to today's show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margarita.
You.
Thank you, Margarita.